The question sounds simple, but it touches one of the most debated and misunderstood moments in Buddhist history: why didn't Buddha want to teach women? At first glance, the story feels uncomfortable. Many people hear that Buddha initially refused to allow women into the monastic order and conclude that he believed women were spiritually inferior. Others immediately defend him and say it was only cultural. But when we look carefully at early Buddhist texts, history, and the social world in which Buddha lived, the reality becomes more complicated. To understand this, we need to travel back more than 2,500 years into northern India. Society was deeply hierarchical and patriarchal. Men dominated religious life, and women often depended socially and economically on fathers, husbands, or sons. Religious wandering, the lifestyle Buddha himself adopted, was considered dangerous and socially unacceptable for women. Spiritual authority belonged almost entirely to men. Then Buddha appeared and began teaching something radically different. Liberation did not depend on birth, wealth, status, sacrifice, or pleasing gods. What mattered was direct understanding and personal realization. Yet even in this revolutionary movement, women were not initially admitted into the monastic community. According to early Buddhist accounts, the turning point came through Mahapajapati Gautami, Buddha's foster mother and aunt, who had raised him after his biological mother died shortly after childbirth. Years later, after Buddha had established his teaching community, Mahapajapati approached him and asked for permission to leave ordinary life and become a monastic practitioner. The texts say Buddha refused. Not once but 3 times. For modern readers, this moment seems difficult to reconcile with the image of Buddha as compassionate and enlightened. Why would he reject the request of someone so close to him? Several explanations have been proposed over the centuries. One explanation focuses on practical concerns rather than spiritual ones. Buddha's monastic order was still young and unstable. Monks traveled constantly, slept outdoors, lived with minimal possessions, and depended on strangers for food. For women in ancient India, such a life carried serious risks. Some scholars argue Buddha feared for their safety and the long-term survival of the community rather than doubting their spiritual ability. Another explanation centers on social resistance. Buddha's teachings already challenged established traditions. He accepted followers across social divisions and questioned long-standing religious assumptions. Allowing women to leave families and join a public spiritual movement would have been even more controversial. Women becoming teachers and independent renunciants could have caused major backlash. Buddha may have worried that introducing women too early would create opposition strong enough to damage the entire movement, but the story does not end there. Mahapajapati did not accept the refusal. According to tradition, she shaved her head, wore simple robes, and traveled on foot together with many women to ask again. When they arrived, they were exhausted. At this moment another important figure entered the story, Ananda, one of Buddha's closest disciples and a figure remembered for compassion and empathy. Ananda approached Buddha and asked a simple question: can women attain enlightenment? Buddha answered clearly, yes. Women are capable of reaching awakening. This answer changes the entire meaning of the story. If women could become enlightened, then spiritual inferiority could not be the reason for refusal. Ananda then asked another question: if women can attain enlightenment, why should they be denied monastic life? Eventually Buddha agreed. This decision became one of the most significant moments in religious history. For the first time in ancient Indian religious life, a major spiritual movement formally created an organized path for women dedicated to liberation. The Bhikkhuni order, the community of Buddhist nuns, was born. However, the controversy did not disappear. Traditional texts describe additional conditions known as the 8 Garudhammas. Rules that placed nuns in a lower formal position relative to monks. Some examples suggest senior nuns remained institutionally subordinate to junior monks. Modern readers often see these rules as unequal and difficult to justify. Scholars continue debating whether these rules actually came from Buddha or whether they were later additions introduced by monastic communities adapting Buddhism to patriarchal societies. There is no universal agreement. Regardless of the debate, something remarkable happened: women entered the Buddhist path in a way almost unheard of for that time. Early Buddhist literature preserves poems and accounts from enlightened nuns describing freedom, insight, peace, and liberation. These writings are among the oldest surviving spiritual texts authored by women anywhere in the world. Their voices describe overcoming grief, attachment, fear, and identity. Their message was clear: awakening belongs to anyone willing to walk the path. This is why many historians view Buddha's position as paradoxical. By modern standards, his hesitation may appear conservative. By the standards of his own era, his final decision was revolutionary. Both perspectives can exist at once. It is easy to judge historical figures through modern expectations, but Buddha lived inside a world with different dangers and social structures. At the same time, his teachings often moved beyond those structures. Buddhist philosophy repeatedly returns to a central insight: attachment to identity creates suffering. Body is not self. Social rank is not self. Status is not self. Ultimately, liberation does not depend on gender but on understanding reality clearly. Later Buddhist traditions expanded this idea further. Many schools emphasized universal enlightenment potential and developed stories of enlightened women, female teachers, and bodhisattvas whose wisdom transcended social categories, yet the question remains relevant today. If enlightenment is open to everyone, why did institutional inequality appear? That discussion continues across Buddhist communities around the world. Some traditions fully ordain women. Others maintain older structures. Some emphasize continuity while others emphasize reform, but one moment remains unforgettable. When Ananda asked whether women could become enlightened, Buddha did not hesitate. He did not say women were less capable. He did not say enlightenment required rebirth as a man. He answered yes. That answer changed history, so perhaps the better question is not why didn't Buddha want to teach women? Perhaps the deeper question is, why did a teacher born into one of history's most patriarchal societies eventually create a path that opened the possibility of liberation to women at all? Whether his hesitation reflected caution, historical limitation, social compromise, or later textual editing, the outcome transformed religious history, and that is why the story still matters today.